everyone, so today we are talking about some myths about the plant paradox diet, some widely held but false beliefs or ideas or misrepresentations of the truth. As you might imagine, because our YouTube channel has a lot of content focused on the plant paradox diet, we get all kinds of comments and articles and links and emails and all sorts of things sent to us from people who are concerned about some of these seemingly terrible things about the plant paradox diet. A lot of them, the most common ones, are actually myths. In other words, they're not really true, or they're misrepresentations of the truth. So I thought I'd just take a little moment and talk about some of them. I think some of this is based in primarily from people who are reviewing the book or critical of the book that I don't believe they actually read it cover to cover, word for word. And in not doing so, you miss a lot of the context of some of the key points that Dr. Gundry makes. The myths, specifically, that I want to talk about, because I think these are important for people who are considering the diet to understand, or people who are even on the diet. I've had a lot of people on the diet that still think these things are true, but they're not. Number one, you can't eat beans or lentils on the plant paradox diet. That is not true. So you can eat beans. And if there's any better way to prove it, buy the cookbook or look at the cookbook. And there is a, Dr. G's chili in there with 3 different kinds of beans and lentils with Dr. Gundry's name on the recipe. So yes, you can absolutely eat beans on the diet. I believe this myth got started, and a lot of the following myths got started because people either don't have time or I don't know, they just didn't read the whole book and take it into context. I think a lot of people misunderstand that there are 3 phases in this diet. Phase 1 is about a 3-day super simple, bland diet called a cleanse. Phase 2 is about a 2 to 6 weeks or even longer. But that's what Dr. Gundry asks, is about 2 to 6 weeks. Give him that much time on phase 2. And that's where that famous yes-no list comes from. It's phase 2. These are all the foods that on the yes list are considered very low in lectins or free of the harmful lectins that Dr. Gundry is worried about. The no list contain foods that are high in those lectins. Beans are on the no list in phase 2. But then if you continue reading the book and you understand phase 3, Dr. Gundry talks about, hey, once you've allowed your body to heal, and that's what phase 2 is about. It's all about, hey, you've been eating this crap diet for all these years, maybe your whole life. Maybe you have an autoimmune disease, and just even eating healthy hasn't cured you entirely. Let's play it super, super, super safe in phase 2. Yes, I know beans are really good for you. But during this phase 2 period, let's just cut them out to completely eliminate them as a risk. And then phase 3, you can start reintroducing some of those foods from the no list and see how you do with them. So it's a basic elimination diet concept. You over-eliminate a whole bunch of stuff, and then you slowly add it back in after you've given your body enough time to recover so that you can notice those differences. So yeah, that's myth number 1. Myth number 2 goes right along with myth number 1, and that is that when you do have beans, that you have to use a pressure cooker. Dr. Gundry is a big promoter of using a pressure cooker. In fact, I've heard him say, yes, you must use a pressure cooker. However, in reading a lot of his other materials, I've also seen him talk about cooking beans, making sure you cook beans properly in a slow cooker. So, why is he such a big promoter? I can't speak for him, but what I will say from my own personal experience is, number 1, a pressure cooker is the best way to cook beans. It's so fast and it's so easy. Literally every pressure cooker I've seen, every modern pressure cooker I've seen, have a bean button on them. You literally put the stuff in there, push the button, and they're done. And if you've ever made beans the old way, slow cooking them or cooking them over the stove in a pot, it's a lot longer of a process. So not only time savings, but the second reason, and I think this is probably the most important, is there's a lot of people out there like me who prior to this diet did not do a lot of home cooking. Cooking beans is a bit of a challenge. Even with a pressure cooker, with the whole rinsing and soaking and all that, beans are kind of a pain. But I can completely see, because I've eaten a lot of people's chilies over the year, that have been crunchy. The beans aren't fully cooked. You're eating that chili at a party or something, and you're like, okay, these beans aren't done. So pressure cooking is just the best way to guarantee that you're killing those lectins. And with beans being one of the highest, concentration of lectins in food, I can see why Dr. Gundry is like, if you have access to a pressure cooker, if you can afford one, yes, absolutely use one, because that's going to minimize your risk. It's common sense why he would say that. Myth number 3, you can't eat tomatoes. Well, it's a myth. You can eat tomatoes on the Plant Paradox diet. It's the same problem that we had with the beans. A lot of people read that no list, they see tomatoes on it, and they fail to understand that that's a connection directly to phase 2. That's what an elimination diet does. It takes those things out that are potentially going to cause you issues, and then you add them back one by one over a period of time to see if you react. I did that with tomatoes, and I found that as long as I peel them and de-seed them, now I actually prefer my tomatoes peeled and de-seeded. If I'm just going to slice one up and, eat it, I will peel it and de-seed it, because I just think they taste better. So, yes, you can eat tomatoes. You just want to avoid them during phase 2 while you're eliminating everything, playing it super safe, letting your body heal. Myth number 4, all lectins are bad. It's a myth. Once again, I'm just going to simply say, if you've read the book, you can even see in there where Dr. Gundry gives an example of 2 different kinds of lectins, some that we can tolerate because our bodies have developed a tolerance, and he believes that our body can continue to develop tolerance to maybe lectins that are bothering us. Number 5, that you can't eat fruit. Well, that's not true. Yes, you can eat fruit. Cutting down on your fruit or taking it into consideration or being concerned about it is a good thing to do, especially during that healing phase of your body. It's so easy when you're addicted to sugar to come off of it and replace all that, sugar and corn syrup and everything else with just tons and tons of fruit. So one way to make that simple is to eat fruit in moderation, and Dr. Gundry recommends eating fruit in season. So he's really trying to make you think about it. Just moderate your sugar, watch it, and be conscious about it. But you can definitely eat fruit. Myth number 6, you can't eat any grains. I know there are diets out there that are completely grain-free. The Plant Paradox diet is not one of them. Yes, there are a lot of grains, most of grains in phase 2 that are on the no list. However, in phase 3, there are grains. For example, we eat basmati rice. We do pressure cook it, but holy cow, is the pressure cooker awesome and easy with rice. And we eat basmati rice because that is one of the rices that Dr. Gundry calls out as, for phase 3, if you're going to eat rice, this is the one to eat. Which made us happy because that was our favorite kind of rice for the past, 15 years anyway. So it's just the best rice. We eat sorghum and quinoa, pressure cooked. The next myth is that you can't eat dairy. I think this is another one that's confused with a lot of, diets that are completely dairy-free. Now, the main problem with dairy, and this is not unique to the Plant Paradox program, is specifically in the United States, most dairy products come from cows with the A1 casein protein. A lot of people know that causes them issues. I'm one of them. So the idea is that if you're going to be eating dairy, then make sure you're getting it from cows that don't have the A1 protein. I think it's A2 that they would have. Or go with goat, sheep, water buffalo, or, imported dairy products from countries where they don't have those cows that have the casein A1. So you can eat dairy. We eat dairy all the time. Some of our favorite meals are made with what I call real mozzarella cheese, because I did not know until I got on this diet that mozzarella cheese, it's originally made with water buffalo milk. And when I had it with the water buffalo milk, I was shocked at how good it was. Yes, it's expensive, but man, is it good. All right, so the last myth I want to talk about, and I'm going to do a whole separate video on this because it's a larger topic, but the last one is that science has all the answers about diet. Anyone who's spent any time looking into, what does science say about diet realizes how challenging that is. You can take almost anything that somebody says, science has proved this about diet, and find opposing research. Well, the one thing you need to understand is science is not bad, and I don't want to sound like in any way that I'm saying anything negative about science. I have a very good friend who's a real-world scientific researcher studying this exact thing about what happens to our bodies when we eat. Made it very clear to me how challenging that is to actually do research that gives you answers, undeniable, factual evidence that something is true. It's usually the media or other people who are looking to, sell a story or something like that are kind of putting their own spin on it. You have to take science in context of your own personal life. For example, for me, pretty much every research article I've read about healthy diets tells me to eat spinach, kale, broccoli, cabbage. I don't think I've ever run into somebody who said these are terrible for you, because everybody agrees they are superfoods, they're super healthy for you. If I eat those foods, I will end up in the hospital. That's how toxic they are to me. I am not allergic to them. I've been allergy tested for them, and it is not an allergy. It's something to do with my genetic makeup and having Crohn's disease and something along those lines. So even though science tells me these are good for me, I personally can't eat them. So yes, it's very important that you try and stay up with science, and science is going to continually find new discoveries, and things that we think are healthy for us now, we're going to find out aren't, and so on. So you have to kind of take it all with a little bit of a grain of salt, or just at least understand that when you're hearing it. So when I hear people say, well, lectins are fine, I think, now there is no possible way that science has proved that all people from all walks of life, but all things considered, can blanket statements say that all lectins are harmless. And then they say, well, we did a study where there was 2,000 people in it. I'm like, 2,000 out of 7-something billion people? So just don't get too thrown off course when you see people saying that. You got to kind of understand the context of where they're coming from, what's their angle, what's their motivation, and what's their own personal experience. And those are my myths that I wanted to talk about today. I hope you found this video helpful, and I'll try and do more of this sort of stuff in addition to the recipes that we do. Please leave us your comments. If you haven't subscribed, we'd love it if you subscribed. We love this sort of growing family of people trying to eat healthy and feel better. So, and if you're new to the diet, or you're old to the diet and you're struggling, hang in there. Eating healthy, it's totally worth the struggle. All right, thanks everyone. See you on the next video.